Guys, good evening and welcome to the call. Good to have you with us. I am standing in for Rory and Nola tonight. They are up in the Drakensberg, having a little bit of rest and relax, but I know they send their love to you all. And tonight we have our guest speaker, Dr. Andre Comrie. I think most of you know Dr. Andre. I guess you can do a quick intro of yourself when you start speaking, Andre. That'll be good for those of you meeting you for the first time. But tonight we're going to zone in and just pick up on this theme of Youth Day. I know last night we celebrated, yesterday in South Africa anyway, we celebrated Youth Day and empowering the future of this country and the future of Africa. We zoned in last night on the economic challenges that our youth of today are facing. We talked about solutions and how we can be the solution to the unemployment factor, the solution to the lack of freedom and financial security that our youth are experiencing. And so tonight we'll go in a few different directions, but we're just going to take it to the product side, but still zoning in on that youth aspect. And so we've asked Dr. Andre to join us tonight and share her knowledge and her wisdom with us. And so before we get started, do you want to just give a quick 2-minute intro, Andre, as to how you fit into the picture and your near-life story?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Briefly, I was introduced to this company about 30 years ago. And the reason that I was looking was that I had had a late-stage cancer diagnosis and suddenly I was in trouble. And I needed something to support the treatment that I was going through. And so I was one of those people who had been pushed into a corner before I started looking. And I think a lot of people are in that category. But since then, my mission has been to try and get people understanding the importance of looking after their nutrition before they ever get sick and probably preventing the serious illnesses that other people experience and that I was experiencing. So we've got wonderful tools, and by that I'm talking product tools, to have a preventative effect on our illness and a positive effect on our health. And we can, in fact, also help people who are in a corner. But that's a big ask. So it's much better to get involved earlier. Do you want me to continue?
No, that's such a good point to start off with, Andre. I think really that's a good footing to get us going. We know the value of long-term nutrition, and it's something which I learned from you, and I hang on to it often. Where we say to people is, don't wait for that sledgehammer to hit you over the back of the head before you sit up and pay attention to your health. And that is where I think it's so important that we really start zoning in on our youth. And who are our youth? It's not just the kids around us, but anybody who's vibrant, who's active, who has hope for a better tomorrow, who has life about them, they can fit into that category. And I think it's important that we start talking to them about prevention, because we know that if you live life long enough with those dietary gaps, you are going to run into some sort of health challenge along the way. So, the first question I want to really ask you is, when is it a good time for young people to start taking good nutrition? When is a good time for us as distributors to start talking to the youngsters about our product line?
Drew, it's never too early. But what I would like to say is that when I had started in this business in the early days, the only issue I had with the business was that I hadn't started earlier. I remember saying to other people and thinking to myself that if only I had started earlier, life would be different. And it would have been different on 2 scores. One is in terms of my health. I probably wouldn't have had to face the cancer diagnosis. But the other thing was that our finances would have been way better as well. I had chosen to temporarily stop a really good career in order to stay at home with my kids. And we went from two incomes to 1 income. And if I had got this up and rolling sooner, then our financial future would have looked much rosier as well. So when you were doing your presentation yesterday, by the way, it was an excellent presentation, really great. And I was just thinking, what did I mean when I was thinking I wish I'd started younger? And as it turned out, I wasn't all that old when I started. I was in my very early 40s. But I'm thinking of youth in more or less the 20 to 35 year age bracket. That's what I'm categorizing youth for this purpose. And so if I pushed it earlier than just over 40, I would be pushing myself into the youth bracket, actually. So what I was saying is, why didn't I know about this when I was a youth? And so this brings our attention to the fact that it is our responsibility to, in fact, try and speak to the youth early. I mean, it's our job. The only reason I learned about it is that someone chose to speak to me, and otherwise you don't know. So our job is to speak to the youth, and what is it we can say to the youth? Where do their interests lie? Because I can tell you that the youth aren't that good at listening to something like, do something now to save yourself in the future. They don't do that in any aspect of their lives because they don't think the future will ever come to them. They're living in the present, and they think that whatever befalls other people will never befall them. So I don't think it's a very productive entry point. So what would be an entry point for the youth? And before I comment on a couple of these things, I just want to also say that, the youth fall into a very broad spectrum of socioeconomic levels. And so I think about Maxwell, whom you interviewed yesterday, and Maxwell had nothing. I mean, Maxwell had to borrow in order to start. And that is fantastic. And there are lots and lots and lots and lots of Maxwells in our world that we need to speak to and hopefully give a leg up to. But there are other people who are, in fact, moneyed. They are young people, they've got good jobs, they might be young and married and starting families within that youth category. And they might be two-income families. And so we've got people who've got money and want other things, better things in life. And we've got people who don't have money who just would want some money so that they can put bread on the table. And the way in which one might speak to people in terms of nutrition and their health is different for those people. Maxwell said last evening that he had absolutely no interest in the products because he thought he was healthy. And that is not uncommon. So here was a guy who needed an opportunity and basically said, I have no interest in the products. I don't need them. So what, how can he build a business, which he did, as we know, if he's got no interest in the products, when a fundamental practice and one of the 3 success habits is that you use the products. So we need to know who we're talking to because we can approach them differently. So what I'm going to suggest is that we've got the most amazing range of products to address all those levels. Because let's just take the products you mentioned earlier out of that testimonial, which is Pro Vitality and the shake. And that's the breakfast pack. It's the fundamental part of the weight loss pack. And it is something that actually is very, very valuable to anyone who has got the money and is looking to be strong and healthy and live an optimum life. And lots of young people are in that category, and they are sports people. They want the edge over their competitors. They want to win. They want to look good, be in good shape. And we've got a perfect product to fill those requirements. And so if we are talking to young people who can afford those products, that's an absolutely brilliant starting point. Now, why is it a brilliant starting point? Well, let's just talk briefly about the shake. we know we need protein, and everybody needs protein, and everybody needs all the amino acids that proteins are supposed to supply. And we know that we've got a product, in fact, all our protein products supply all the amino acids. But the Neolife shake is not just a supplier of all the amino acids we need. It's been prepared in such a way that it supplies good quantities of the branched chain amino acids, which are the ones that build our muscles. And so if you are talking to a young man who is athletic at some level, sportsman, wanting to look good, and you can say to him, you know, if you start taking this, you can replace a meal with it. You are supplying your body with all the protein it needs, but not only is it just all the protein it needs, it's special amino acids that help you to build muscle. And so here you've got something that enables the young person to start doing the things that allow them to look good, feel good, and perform well. Now, what happens when you're talking to someone who doesn't have the finances to support? Well, let me just, before I go there, the other product of the two is Pro Vitality. Now, most people know that it's a good idea to have a multivitamin, multimineral, and we all know that we need to take supplements because we can't depend on our diets to supply everything we need, and we don't want gaps in our nutritional profile. But the other three things in that product, over and above the multivitamin, are super, super important. And they are all oils, as you know, if you think about it. So we've got the treonine, which is an oil, and those are fundamentally important for absolutely everything that goes on in the body. If we are short of those lipids and sterols, we don't have functional cells. And if we don't have functional cells, we don't have functional organs, and we just basically start deteriorating right from the get-go. And that deterioration in the modern world starts with the kids even, which is why in the Vita Squares, there's actually treonine as well. And so here's one product that if it's the only thing you can take, it is so foundationally important that you will be improving your health, even with that one product. Then we've got the carotenoid complex, which is, as we know, the immune booster, the antioxidant. And if anybody questions in this day and age the importance of having a strong immune system, they really need their head read because they aren't in the real world. We know that a strong immune system is extremely important for us. And here is a product that is proven to do that. And so it's possible, it's an expensive product. Why is it an expensive product? Because one of the things about an antioxidant is that it must not be exposed to oxygen, because as soon as it's exposed to oxygen, it loses its effectiveness. So this product is produced in an exceptionally carefully controlled environment under a continuous atmosphere of nitrogen. During the whole preparation process, it never gets to see oxygen. And so after it's been put into the capsule, we know that we've got a 100% effective antioxidant when we swallow it. So it's costly because of that. But in terms of the value that you get from it, it's worth way more than the cost. But if you are at the bottom end of the socioeconomic scale, it might be a bit of a big ask, but it's a possibility. And then the third of the oils is the omega. Omega is generally understood to be important. You get a gazillion different products of omega-3 on the shelves in the grocery stores and the pharmacies and so on. It's a very common product. So it's generally known to be important. But what we do know is that most of those products are not worth swallowing because they carry with them so many toxins and things that are bad for your health that you are probably causing more harm than good. We, on the other hand, have a product that is absolutely pure, and you all know this. I don't need to tell you this. But we have something that you can take that is potent, that is broad spectrum, and that ticks all the omega-3 gaps that we might possibly have. Why would omega-3 be important? Well, it's also foundationally important. It's not very different from treonine in that regard. Omega-3 also forms part of the membranes. It is a structural component of the brain. So if you don't have enough omega-3 on board, you simply aren't as smart as you might be. And we all need to be smart in this day and age, or as smart as we can be. It's fundamentally important as an anti-inflammatory. And it is now widely recognized that most of the chronic diseases that we suffer from are due to chronic inflammation. And here we've got an actual anti-inflammatory. We need it on board. And for the guys, you need it on board for a healthy prostate. If you live long enough, you will have prostate problems if you don't take care of that organ. You need the omega-3. If you are preparing to have children, you need to have it on board because those developing babies need it for the development of their brain and their sight and their nerves and so on and so forth. So it's a foundationally important product. But what's interesting in our range is that any one of those three, if you could only take one, is super important to take and you will benefit from it. You can choose according to your financial capacity. And the company has realized that it is that important that they have produced those three in smaller containers. And so if you can't afford the 120 treonines, you can go for the 60. If you can't afford the 90 carotenoid, you can go for the 30. And similarly, we've got the omega in 2 sizes. And so if you're starting out with someone, trying to support someone to grow a business who is at the lower end economically, any one of those products is an excellent starting point. But if I had to choose one, I'd say treonine. And that, I think, is probably why it is one of the starter kits. You can get the treonine, you can use it for yourself, you will almost certainly feel the benefits, and you've got a second one to sell. So it's a very valuable starter kit because you are starting to do two of the three things we need to do. One is to use the product to get your own story, and the other is to share the product. And it happens there and then in that kit. So, so any one of the nutritional products is valuable, but it doesn't. But you can cut or make the choices according to your financial cloth. And
so, just reading between the lines here, consistency is going to be key. Like in anything, we know that to achieve great health long term, consistency is going to be your best friend.
Yes.
And for from any age, but focusing on the 20 to 40-year-olds here, consistently eating more intentionally, consistently taking a nutrition supplement every single day that is going to plug your nutrition gaps is critical. And I think that is where us as distributors need to develop the self-awareness and the skill set to identify. We have some people that, as you say, can take the shake every day and take a sachet of Pro Vitality. That's in their budget. But we need to identify what budgets are we working with, because from 20 to 40-year-olds, there's many budgets in between those that age group. And so what you're saying is making sure that whatever we are recommending them is something that fits into their budget, that they can do over a consistent period of time. And as distributors, we need to understand, and I think it's very simple. Pro Vitality is Rolls Royce, but if Pro Vitality isn't okay, you can break it down into the individual tubs, whether that's a treonine, a carotenoid, an omega-3. And if the big tubs are still out of their budget, you can scale it right back down to the smaller tubs of those capsules. So I really do think we have the solution. And let's face it, 20 to 40-year-olds, they are going to be taking supplements. They are already taking supplements.
For sure.
The question is, do you want them to be taking supplements from your business or somebody else's business? And I know as a company, our mission is to make this world a healthier and a happier place. And I don't believe we're going to achieve that mission by helping all the sick people get well again. And of course, we have amazing stories. Andre, you're one of them. But we are really going to achieve that mission by helping the healthy people and the healthy families stay healthy. So I think if you are serious about building a business that has longevity and capitalizes on this massive youth opportunity, it's very important that we are bringing into our conversation topics like not only preventing chronic disease, because remember, as Andre said, they're living in the now. That doesn't concern them much right now. But how to get the best out of your daily gym workout, how to have a sharp mind for your exams, how to be toned, how to, what else do people want? You mentioned a few. How to, all the aspects of health and nutrition that are relevant to young people. We have to be bringing that into our conversation to avoid only talking to sick people.
Yeah, and one other thing I'd like to add there is that it's that people in that 20 to 35 year age group are the people who are starting their families. And so there are small children in the equation. And when is the best time to start taking a product? Before you're born. And if you can get the young adults who are starting to have children understanding that they are doing their kids the very best favor that they could possibly do for them by being properly nourished when the mom is pregnant, and when the mom is breastfeeding, and then continuing that process with their kids and teaching them how to look after their health, how to eat well, how to plug the gaps even at that early age, and get the benefits of it. Because let's face it, kids catch every single cold going around when they start attending school or creche or whatever. And we can save them from most of that by putting them on the VitaSquares and the VitaGuard and so on. And so then you are starting to grow the next generation who has no problem with continuing taking supplements into their adult life and so on and so forth. And then they won't get the chronic diseases and so on. So you can start teaching the next generation from the get-go. And that is a big solution to the ongoing health problem over time. So targeting the young adult is an extremely important target, both for them and their own health and longevity, but also for the longevity of our businesses, because we need someone to take the baton from us. We know all sorts of stuff. Who are we going to teach to take it further and take it down into the next generation? So we need to really focus on that, I believe.
And Andre, just from a personal testimony, one of my favorite products is the VisionLife tea. I don't know if anybody has tried the VisionLife tea or has a testimony on the VisionLife tea, but that is a product which I really believe fits into this age category. And I have a sachet of VisionLife tea in my VisionLife shaker bottle with cold water and a squeeze of lemon every afternoon. And I know if I have that tea, doesn't matter what I've done that day, I have the energy to go and hit a 5 or 10K run or go and do one of my Get Fit classes. I just think that product makes me feel like a rock star. I don't know what I'd do without it. And we look at the energy drink market. This energy drink market is
huge.
It's worryingly big because these energy drinks are nothing short of poisons that our youth are drinking. And so we got a big job to do to shift them from those energy drinks to our VisionLife tea, because they're going to get as much energy, but they're going to get a healthy, sustained level of energy without all the additional, massive amounts of caffeine and sugars and artificial ingredients. Now, my next question for you, Andre, we've spoken about nutrition and that age group. But I really feel that we can't ignore our home cleaning products. It's such an important range in our product line. How can that age category, that 20 to 35 to 40-year-olds, fit the cleaning range into their VisionLife journey?
I think I think we underestimate the youth in terms of the cleaning products, because it turns out that it's in that age group that they're starting to set up home for themselves. Now, whether that's a bachelor pad or not, it's still becoming independent, setting up a home that's independent of your parents. And when you do that, I saw it with my own sons, you are suddenly astonished at how much it costs just to run a household in terms of cleaning yourself and cleaning the clothes and keeping the kitchen clean and so on. And we know that our products are very cost effective. And the sooner we get these cleaning products into the of the younger people, the sooner we will be saving them money, and the sooner they will become habitual users of those products. And for many people, it's actually the easiest entry point, because everybody cleans something, whereas not everybody is persuaded right from the get-go that nutritional supplements are necessary. And the other thing about the cleaning products is that they are so easy to demonstrate. And I think that, and when I say what I'm saying, I speak to myself as much as to anybody else. I think we forget how valuable the demonstrations are of those cleaning products. And maybe we should take a leaf out of the books of people like Simon Jele, who used to have a spray bottle of Super 10 in his car. And wherever he went, he would just show somebody how well Super 10 works. And we miss a trick there. And then nowadays, we've got this added boost to recommending things, because we've got the combination of the LDC and the care for washing hands and keeping clean and keeping viruses and so on under control. And people are very aware of that. And so we've got this somewhat open door to talk to people about introducing these particular things into their home from that point of view. And then what people need to be reminded of, and I think it's also getting into the public domain more, is that we are in fact slowly poisoning ourselves. And there are concerns about things like the sperm count, and whether human fertility is under threat. Now, it's that age group that should be worried about fertility. People like me, it's no longer an issue. But it's those people who are in the age group of wanting to have children and suddenly maybe not being able to. And, in my days of childbearing, very, very few people spoke about fertility treatments. It wasn't needed. Now there are fertility clinics around every corner, just about. It's become a big issue. And I've got some cynical friends who say, well, that's a great idea because it will reduce the population. And at some level, there's a point there. But we're not working properly. Our bodies are not working properly if we're not fertile. And so we are bringing into our homes things that are affecting things like fertility. They affect things like your breathing, your asthma and those things. They affect your skin. They affect your hormones. And we need our hormones to be functioning properly. Many of the cleaning products are endocrine disruptors. They mess with our hormones. It's probably a cause of the real epidemic of obesity and diabetes and so on, underlying all those things. And so people need to understand that. And if they can go from mom's home to their own homes and never, ever use those other products, we'll be doing them a favor, and they can save a lot of money, as I've said, and they can use their knowledge and experience and their testimonials to market those products to everyone they know. It's a very good entry point, I think, for your own benefit and for building a business.
Mm-hmm. And as a nutrition company, I guess we can't have the nutrition conversation and ignore the toxicity in our homes. It goes hand in hand. And another big thing is the Near Life has been green for over 50 years. And trust me, 50 years ago, no one cared how green we were, but it was just at the heart of who we were as a company, and we persisted with it. And today, this environmentally friendly aspect is such a big part of life. And this 20 to 35 to 40-year-old category, they are environmental warriors. They want to participate. They want to play their part in reducing plastic in the environment and reducing toxins in their home and in the environment. And so I think it is a natural fit when talking to this younger generation. And as you say, they are cleaning their homes anyway. And often in this age category, a lot of them are really making a move on their financial future and setting themselves up financially. And what is the first way to make money? The first way to make money is to save money. And that is what we can help them with our cleaning range. And something that you mentioned earlier, Andre, which really has got me quite excited. And I know there are distributors on this call that have ambitions to build a business that is multi-generational, to build something that you can pass on to your children one day. Now, what do you have to do to build something like that? You have to talk to these 20 to 40-year-olds that are starting families. And I just think of Rory and Nola. What age did they start? They started late 20s, maybe early 30s, 47 years ago.
Yeah.
I was born around that time. I grew up teething on a Super 10 spray bottle. That's what I teethed on.
Yeah.
I've got photographs of it.
Yeah.
Guess what? Near Life has me for life.
Yeah.
My 3 children, guess what? They grew up teething on a Super 10 spray bottle. Near Life has them for life. Talk about a sustainable business. We have to get this group of people, because that is what's going to take it on to the next generation. And we have to create a movement. And as we spoke about last night, our youth, they are hungry for opportunity. They want to make an income, yet they also want to make an impact. They want to live a life of purpose, yet they also want to live a life of freedom. And guess what? We tick every single one of those boxes. And so we just have to get bold enough to get out there and have the courage to find those people, find their need, and to talk the right language to them. So, Andre, I don't know if you have anything else you would like to add to the conversation before we close it off.
Yeah. My connection has suddenly gone unstable, so it's a good moment to close it off. Yeah, yes, I mean, basically my call to myself, my call to action is that I really need to find a way to talk to that generation of people. And in fact, that's the age group that I've always loved dealing with. I've loved dealing with students. I mustn't neglect my age group who need assistance as well, but that's not about building a business. If you want a business, it's got to go into the next generation. It's got to do so now.
And I think it's very much, it's a case of we will never neglect the 40-year-olds and over. I fall into that category. Yeah. We'll never neglect that, but sometimes we lean a little bit heavier onto that. We have to have conversations with both spectrums of the equation here. It's very important. If we truly are passionate about making this world a healthier and a happier place, that is where it's at. And so I just want to say thank you to every one of you in this VisionLife team. You're all very special to this Near Life family. You're a very special part of this VisionLife team. I know Rory and Nola, we all love you very, very much. And we want to see you succeed as much as you want to see yourself succeed. That is what I can promise you. And so our commitment to you is, in your journey of stepping out of your comfort zone and going and finding your 20 to 35 to 40-year-olds, if you need my assistance in doing that, you know where to get hold of me. My commitment is I will talk with you to people in that age group if it's going to help you. But we really are committed to making an impact in the sector and empowering our youth, because that is our future and also a strong part of your business. So every one of you, God bless you all. Have a wonderful Thursday evening. Thank you for your time this evening. It means a lot to us that you joined us, and took the time to be with us this evening. And it is middle of the month. It's still early days. Know your targets and don't stop running. I want every one of you to at least qualify and title this month, if not make a move on your next step, because that is what you're